Hi everyone, welcome or welcome back. All right, I am the marketing nomad. I am the author of 0 to 4 Figures and Self-Loved. I'm also a digital entrepreneur and a business owner. A few of the roles that I do take on, I'm a YouTuber, podcaster, Etsy shop owner, Skillshare teacher. This is basically season 2 of the Marketing Nomad show, where I reflect upon my journey as an entrepreneur and a business owner. I share the highs, the lows, the in-betweens, and how this entire experience has shaped me, both personally as well as professionally. And in today's episode, we're getting into a very, very interesting topic. This is actually a big realization that I've had since becoming a business owner and an entrepreneur, and that is handling rejection in your personal life versus handling rejection in your business. And it's definitely a very, very interesting take, definitely a big lesson that was very intense for me to learn per se. But I've come to understand that even though the word rejection possibly extends to both areas of your life, I think that how one approaches it, how one handles it, the thought process, the mindset shifts with respect to handling it is actually very, very, very different. How you handle rejection in your personal life is very different from how you handle rejection in your business life, or at least it's supposed to be. But I feel like where I made the mistake was whatever lessons I learned with respect to handling rejection in my personal life, I have in the past applied that to my business, and it has taken a completely different turn. Then when I realized, all right, well, there are different lessons that I'm learning with respect to handling rejection in my business life, I used those takeaways in my personal life, and that also blew up in my face. So I've done it vice versa. I've done it both ways, and that is where this podcast episode is coming from. It's coming from a deep place of just making mistakes with respect to this and wanting to share my experience with you. So the core of this podcast episode is to hopefully be able to let you know that there are actually two different approaches with respect to handling rejection, and one cannot be used for the other. It is a very, very specific and individual route that you have to take with respect to that area of your life, because when there is an interchange of the way to handle rejection, oftentimes it blows up in your face because the dynamic behind the rejection actually differs significantly in either of these areas of your life. So today we're going to be talking more about that. We're going to be looking at the differences in the dynamic in each of these areas, and why rejection in that particular area, even though it's the same word, it actually is different. You know, the way that it comes about also is different. The way that we perceive it also ends up being different. So the way that we handle it also has to be different. So that is one way that I'm going to be approaching this episode. Another thing that I do want to tackle is, well, how do you actually handle it? All right, we kind of understand the differences. So how are we going to handle rejection in these specific areas of our lives? All right, so that's what I hope to cover in this podcast episode. And yeah, let's get into it. All right. So the first thing that I have come to understand about rejection is it is absolutely normal. All right, it happens both in your personal life as well as our business life. And I feel like this is where my misstep was that I thought, okay, well, rejection is rejection, right? It's the same thing. And I would apply what lessons I was learning here for this and that and this and that. And what I came to understand is when it comes to rejection, all right, especially with our personal life, it's a lot more personal, isn't it? The rejection doesn't reflect our worth, yes, absolutely, but it is on a more personal level. There is a factor of us in that equation. And so the first reason, I guess I would say, why the way that you handle rejection in your personal life has to be different from the way that you handle rejection in your business is because in your business, it's oftentimes with respect to maybe details of your offer or the timing or maybe the price, the product by itself not seeing a fit. It is not you per se. It could be elements of what you are producing, but it is not you per se. All right. And oftentimes rejection in business, it's more of a data point. It's more of you understanding that, okay, well, this approach didn't work. So what if I tried another approach? What if I tweaked this about my offer? Maybe I reduced the price, or maybe I improved my messaging to communicate the offer a lot better. Whereas in your personal life, unfortunately or fortunately, because you are the equation in that whole rejection phase, or I guess I would say not phase, but I will say the experience, I guess. It is more of a finite point. So rejection in your business is more of a data point, but rejection in your personal life is more of a finite point where you understand that, all right, it is a closed door, because as much as I can tweak my offer or my price or even the timing with respect to my business, I can't tweak or keep fiddling about with who I am just to be accepted by someone in my personal life, whether it is a romantic connection, a personal connection, or a work connection, a familial connection. There is a fundamental difference over there. While you can evolve and transform yourself, it should never be for someone else or to be with someone else, to get the approval of someone else. It has to always come from within you, that this is a journey that I wish to take for myself, and that is why I am on this journey of evolution and transformation. If it is in that circumstance and that thought process, then I would say, that is a healthy approach. But oftentimes when it comes to transforming ourselves or letting go a part of ourselves in order to be accepted by the other person in our personal life, or to be not rejected by someone in our personal life, that is very, very unhealthy to begin with, because I've done this and I'm going to share that with you as well. What happens is, over time, you start to lose sight of who you truly are, and who you truly are in your core, in your essence. That person is very, very beautiful, unique. Yes, there are parts of you that need to evolve, that will evolve in time. But who you are today, that person deserves to be cherished completely, rather than letting go all the parts that make you who you are. All right, and I think this is where I'm coming to my story. All right, so this was back in my engineering days. I think that back then, being accepted by a group of people or even by a person, I think that it tends to have more significant weight at that age in your life. I think that today it's a very, very different ball game. My mindset is very, very different than it was about 10 to 12 years ago. But back then, I think that it does matter, the group that you hang out with, whether you're accepted by them, whether they approve parts of you or reject parts of you, or even that's one specific person. And I found that over time of craving to be accepted, I let go parts of myself that actually made me who I am. And I'll give you an example. You know how much I talk on my podcast? Yeah, I kind of let that go at one point in time. I just thought that maybe if I talked less, I would be accepted, or I would not be rejected. Maybe if I didn't voice my thoughts and opinions so much, especially those that probably stood out from the rest, maybe, I would not be rejected so much. And so there were parts of myself that I was intentionally cutting out from my life. It wasn't an evolution, it was me cutting it out. That was the difference. And at that point, after a couple of years, I'm not kidding, it took a few years for me to realize that the person standing in front of me in the mirror was not who I was. It was just like bits and pieces of what other people wanted me to be, and I didn't like that version of myself that I saw in front of the mirror. And I'm lucky that I was able to have a lot of time to give to myself to kind of remove everything that was a product of me trying to be accepted by other people or even one particular person, and bring back parts of me that were me, that made me who I was, the unique person that I am, what my strengths were. And it was during that phase that I understood that, all right, well, if I am getting rejected by someone, it just means I need to walk away. And so this was my takeaway from that entire experience of being rejected in my personal life. And I still stand by that. And I feel like I need to talk a little bit more about my thought process with respect to that. So let's get a little bit deeper into that, all right? So at that point in time when I couldn't recognize who I was in the mirror, and frankly, there were so many parts of myself that wasn't cohesive, because it was just like different parts of myself that I had kind of brought about because of other people. I realized that no, you know what? There are things that make me who I am. There are things that are so unique about me that I have to love myself for that, because I don't see that in anyone else. And it's not me tooting my own horn over here. It is genuine. It is true. There's a reason why I am here, because there are certain things that only I can bring to the table, whether it is my thought process, the way that I perceive certain things, maybe perhaps the way that I love, maybe the way that I speak, the way that I talk, the way that I communicate, the way that I show up for people. There is a reason why I am the way that I am, and I can't take that away from me. And so yes, it was a little bit more on the spiritual side, but that realization helped me understand that I need to first accept who I am as a person. I need to fall in love with who I am as a person. I need to recognize all the beautiful things that I bring to the table. And so at that point in time, my takeaway with respect to rejection in my personal life, the lesson that I learned was, all right, the next time someone rejects me, I'm not going to take it personally, because I know what I bring to the table. It's just not an alignment. What that person wants from me is not something that I can naturally give to them. So it's a misalignment. It is not a representation of my worth, and I need to walk away, because I am not going to put myself in a position where I'm constantly fixing myself for someone else. If I want to evolve, it has to be from my end. It has to come from a decision within me and for myself. So it's very, very clear about that takeaway. And of course, this was during my MBA days. So from engineering to MBA, that was like the time frame. And during my MBA days, I had a lot of time to spend with myself and just truly understand who I am, truly bring back the parts of me that I actually did love at one point, but kind of looked down upon because maybe it was not accepted by other people, or I felt that it was leading to me being rejected by other people. And the more that I aligned with who I truly was on the inside, the more I actually naturally aligned with people who just accepted me for who I am, who understood that yes, I am, there are things that I'm healing from. There are, there's this constant evolution that's happening within me, but at the same time, there is a natural acceptance of who I was as a person at the point in time, and even acceptance as I evolved as well. And knock on wood, I'm really, really blessed to have them in my life. So at that point, my takeaway was, all right, fine. If someone rejects me, that is not a representation of my worth, and I just need to walk away because it's just misalignment. There's nothing that I can do in that moment of time or ever, because they're rejecting a core of me that they should naturally align with if they're meant to be in my life. So this was the takeaway, okay? Then this was in my personal life. So that was during my MBA days, and I've stuck by very, very firmly with this thought process even to this day. The slightest hint of rejection, I walk away. Whether it is somebody I know, somebody I don't know, I still hold on to that lesson. Fast forward a few years, I am down on my visa. I have to come back to Bangalore, and I'm here in Bangalore starting my business, and it's time for me to reach out to potential clients and ask them if they would like to work with me. So many rejections. There were so many rejections because first off, I didn't have a portfolio. Whatever little portfolio that I had made, it was 1 year of working for another company, and as much as the work that they gave me was so valuable, it wasn't what my client was like, potential clients would be looking for. And I didn't have a project that I had worked with as a freelancer at that point in time to show it to potential clients that I'm capable of working with another company in a freelance capacity in the job that they're asking for. So I needed recommendations at that point in time from a freelance perspective. And so there were all of these rejections that were coming through, and the mistake that I made at that point in time was I applied the same thought process that I had with respect to rejection in my personal life for my business as well. And what I did at that point in time was I just let go. I was like, okay, the rejection, let go. That was the thought that was in my mind. Rejection, let go. Don't pursue it. Just don't do anything. Just walk away. It's not a fit. It's not a fit. It's not a fit. And that is something that, in hindsight, I think that I just applied the wrong lesson in the wrong context. And it didn't take me too long, actually didn't take me too long, because while I was like letting go, there were reasons that the potential client was telling me, like, not at this time, not at this time. That was a very repeated phrase that I was getting, or this is not the price that we're looking for, or we would appreciate if it was, you could include this in the struggling with that word, deliverable, and decrease the price, or perhaps give us a different pricing structure that could align with our budget. So there was always like, it wasn't a no per se, there was always no, but if you could make these changes, then we would be open to perhaps working with you in the future. And so it was this phrase that kept coming up in my mind that made me realize, okay, wait, hold on. I think that I am approaching this very differently, because these are things that I can control that are outside of me. My client is not rejecting who I am as a person. They're rejecting perhaps the offer, the price, maybe the deliverables, maybe some aspect of my messaging as well could be. That is something that I can control. That is something that's outside of me. And so it was this realization. It was actually pretty quick. The turnaround time, it didn't take years, unlike the handling rejection in my personal life. This one was very, very fast. I think within 2 or 3 conversations with 2 or 3 potential clients, I realized, okay, well, I need to tackle this differently, because first off, it's not about me. They're not asking me to change who I am as a person. They're asking me to change something that still continues to align with me, but also could possibly align with them. Perhaps it might be a compromise. Perhaps I would have to reduce my pricing structure or create a different pricing structure in order to kind of make sure that my finances were sorted out on my end, like I was getting paid for what I deserve, as well as it was within their budget. So it was more of external tweaking than it was internal tweaking. And that's when I realized, all right, well, when it comes to a business rejection, all right, it is a data point. It is just me understanding that, hey, something about what I am offering to them in my product or service is not aligning at this point in time. Maybe their budget is not aligning at this point in time, but it also means that I can tweak certain things to make it align in the future. And so when it came to business related rejections, I started collecting all of this information. Like, okay, well, this client said the offer was way above their budget, but in my opinion, it is representative of the work that I can deliver. So maybe the potential client that I'm reaching out to is not my target market. I need to shift that. I need to focus on people who will have the budget for the kind of work that I'm offering. So that was tweaking, and then perhaps another client wanted a different price structure. So again, tweaking my products, my services to align with their budget while also kind of fending for my needs as well. So it was more of tweaking, and I started taking this as data points. Few of the questions that I did ask myself, and I hope that this can be a good starting point for you as well, is, well, why didn't it work out? What was the reason for their rejection or for them saying no? All right, what can I learn from this experience? Is it something that I have to tweak? Maybe my mindset, even that, also my mindset about the product or service that I'm offering, or about myself as well. What is the mindset shift that I need to make? What are some of the thoughts that I'm having that are working against me? Or what are some of the actions that I'm taking that are working against me? And now let's take a look at the product and the services. What is not working? How can I communicate that better? Or what can tweak in this product or service so that it aligns better with what the market is actually demanding at that point in time? How can I improve what was lacking? Which part of this can I control? And which part of this do I need to let go? Yes, some parts of business rejection does have an element of letting go, but there are parts of it that you can control. Some parts of it that you can go in, fix, and try it out again, either with the same client or another potential client. All right. Whereas in personal relationships, the difference is that rejection is a finite point. You can think about all it is, like, why didn't it work out? What can I learn from this? How can I improve myself? It's oftentimes in personal relationships, when there is a rejection, it is a reflection of how the other person feels about themselves, what they want at that point in time. That's got nothing to do with you. Perhaps what they want is something different than you. It's not about you being better so that they can like you or they can accept you. It's just what they want is different, and I feel like understanding that was a big difference, because with respect to business, oftentimes what they're expecting is whatever it is there, just a better offer or a more aligned offer. Whereas with respect to rejection in personal relationships, it's more about them wanting something different. So no matter how much you tweak yourself, you fix yourself, you say, okay, well, I need to keep improving, or I need to keep taking in parts of myself that I feel would be accepted by them. Yeah, no, it doesn't work that way, because what they're looking for is different, and there's a reason why you are the way that you are. There is a reason why you have been brought onto this earth, I guess, because there are certain things that only you can do. And so it was understanding that helped me kind of salvage a lot of those rejections that could have actually permanently been a no, if I had walked off without even giving it a second or a third try. So that is one thought process that I wish to share with you, that rejection in your business is just a data point. It's just a feedback, whereas rejection in your personal relationships, well, it's a finite point. See it as a closed door, and just walk away rather than seeing it as an opportunity to try again. All right, now let's come into the second point that I do want to say, and that is, I think, something that we've already touched upon, and that is with respect to business. It's not personal. It's oftentimes the result of timing, oftentimes a result of not being a good fit at that point in time. Maybe they're not looking for your product or services at that point in time. It could also be your messaging, product specs. There are elements that, yes, you can control, but it's more so outside of you. It's not you. It's not personal. Whereas with respect to personal relationships, it's very, very often, more than not, it's personal. It's about them not seeing an alignment for who you are at that point in time, for what their needs, their wants, and their desires are. And that's okay. If they want something different for themselves, that's it's valid, isn't it? They get to ask for what they want, just as you get to ask for someone who aligns naturally with you, with your desires, with your needs and your wants. So I think that, first off, taking rejection in personal relationships, it's not even a reflection of how they feel about me or who I am as a person. It's just their individuality, what their needs are, their wants are, and I can't hold it against them. I think that coming to that thought process also has been very, very liberating for me in terms of rejection in personal relationships. So I hope that that helps you as well. Now, with respect to business, all right, when it comes to business, rejection in business, oftentimes success comes through perseverance. And I feel like, especially when in our career or in our business, we try again, and then we finally find success, we tend to kind of keep it in our mind that, okay, well, if we are rejected in our personal relationships, then maybe we have to try again to get success, because that's kind of like the thought process that is there. And I'm pretty sure there are so many videos out there, so many motivational videos out there that talk about how you should try again, you should keep going, because success is just right around the corner. But I feel like one thing those videos tend to overlook is context. Where are you applying that in your business? Yeah, for sure. Sometimes, yes, it is true that, if you keep going at it again, you will achieve success. But there are also times with respect to your business as well where you have to let go. It is a dead end. It's not a data point anymore. It's a dead end. And recognizing that also is part of the process of handling rejection. Of course, this, I feel like we need to get into a whole different podcast episode about, recognizing when a rejection is a dead end with respect to the business area of your life, I guess. Yes, that is what I wanted to say. I was about to say business area of your business, and I was like, well, it is the entire thing. That didn't make sense in my mind. Anyway, let's just move past that. All right, so I feel like that thought process can work against us with respect to rejection in our personal relationships, because it oftentimes, the rejection translates in our mind, oh, okay, well, if you try again, try, somehow we are going to achieve success through perseverance. And I guess my thought process about this, and this has come because of the experiences that I've been through and my understanding of it post that, the hard way, I have to mention that, the hard way is at what cost, Yes, perhaps you did get accepted at the end of it, but at what cost? Letting go of every single thing that makes you who you are, every single beautiful thing that makes you who you are, or you're so drained out with this try, that of becoming a different person, of kind of forcing yourself to be someone else. All of that exhaustion does get to you. So even if you do find success in being accepted, and I say that in quotes because that acceptance is only valid until you remain the kind of person that they want you to be. As you start reverting back to who you naturally are, which does happen, again, you lose sight of that, and that does kind of put a toll on you, doesn't it? It does bring a lot of emotional exhaustion as well, doesn't it? So at what cost, to constantly keep pretending to be someone else that you are not, even though you naturally feel like shifting back into who you truly are, because your soul always will call out to who you are. That's a little bit more on the spiritual side, but it's true. How long can you keep pretending? There's a reason why people say you can't pretend for more than 6 months. Your natural, who you are on the inside, will naturally come out, because it's true. As much as you can want to be different, like a different person, yeah, there's, first off, just taking out parts of you and dumping other parts of who you think the other person wants you to be. Yeah, you automatically reject that after a given point in time. The exhaustion of constantly pulling in another version that does not exist, yeah, that does get to you after a point in time. So at what cost, And so for me, with respect to rejection in personal relationships, it's done and dusted. If there is even a slightest hint of rejection, I say, all right, this is not on me. They get to decide who they wish to be with, what they want, what they desire out of their friend, their partner, their whoever it is, whatever the connection is. I take a step back because I deserve to be with someone who naturally aligns with me, who accepts all parts of me and accepts the evolution that I am going through as well. And if it doesn't, it's just a misalignment. It's nothing to do with them. It's got nothing to do with me. There's no good or bad person here in this equation. It's just not what the other person wants at this point in time, or, not what the other person wants, period. Hold on, I'm reaching 30 minutes and the camera tends to go a little bit wonky, so give me a second. All right, we are back, all right? So another thing that I've written here in my notes is you can't earn love, you can't earn friendship, you can't earn respect, you can't earn the natural alignment that happens when someone accepts you rather than constantly rejecting parts of you that they don't seem to align with. I mean, this is not like a food counter, the buffet where you go in and you choose, all right, well, I like this part of you, I don't like that part of you, so I'm not going to put that on my plate. No, you are not a buffet, right? And so I think even understanding that about personal relationships, that's where the difference is, because with respect to the business side of things, there are things that you can tweak. You can give your potential client, options. You can give them the options. Whereas when it comes to personal relationships, you are you. What option are you going to give? You can't say, oh, well, these are parts of me that you can put on your plate. These are parts of me that you can reject. No, it's oftentimes as a whole. And for those of you struggling out there, because I did have this thought at one point in time, and I feel like talking about it, at one point in time, I felt very, very alone. I didn't think that is a bit emotional for me. I didn't think that there were people out there who could just accept me for who I was rather than who they wanted me to be. Like, just picking parts of me that they liked and then rejecting other parts of me. I didn't think that there were going to be people out there. And unfortunately or fortunately, for a big portion of my life, I felt that some parts of me were accepted, some parts of me were rejected. That whole complete acceptance of who I am as a person, I'd never felt that. And it was only much later in my life. It was close to 2017, if I'm not wrong. Yes, it was close to 2017 that the minute I started accepting all of me, the minute I started putting my foot down and saying, okay, you know what? No, all right? This is not a buffet. The other person can't choose what they want and what they don't want. If they don't want even parts of me, then it's just misalignment. I need to let them go. And so at that point in time, it's actually very, very painful, but at that point in time, I started letting people go from my life, people who were no longer in alignment to this version of myself that completely and wholly accepted who I was. And it was painful. It felt even more lonely at that point in time. But once that energy was out of my life, it actually made space for people who saw me the way that I saw myself. And so a lot of this does, of course, have to do with alignment and manifestation. Like, you attract people who will feel about you the way that you feel about yourself. Because there were parts of me that I constantly kept rejecting, I constantly doubted, I constantly kept berating, I attracted those kinds of people into my life. But the moment I started to accept myself whole, and even the parts of me that were struggling, even the parts of me that were dark, even the parts of me that my shadow side, I guess you would say, complete and whole, and understanding every aspect of me and acceptance that yes, I am evolving, but this person that I am today deserves so much of love, so much of acceptance. Just being in that energy, it brought in people in my life who, even to this day, there's just unconditional love and acceptance that I feel from them, even as I am evolving, even through my evolution in the past, like very, very dramatic evolution in the past 3 or 4 years. They've just been by my side. And I think that one thing I've understood is, and the reason why I feel like sharing this, and I know that we're kind of going off on a tangent over here, is if you feel like, okay, well, I haven't met any person so far in these long years of my life that has made me feel truly accepted, trust me, they are stepping into your life. The moment you feel that way about yourself, they will step into your life. That's a little bit of work that you have to put in towards yourself, that complete acceptance, that love. What you wish from others, you have to give it to yourself in order to align with people who will do that for you, or who will naturally align to that energy, all right? So I want to say, trust that they are coming. I can say this few years on, but at that point in time, up until 2017, I didn't think it was possible. I really, like, even when someone told me, you know, they will come or whatever it is, I didn't believe that at all. I was like, okay, well, that's absolutely rubbish, because the first 27 years of my life, I've never felt that way. So why would it be any different? 27 is a long time to go without feeling that way about anyone. And so yeah, that's where I am at right now, where I'm truly blessed to have people in my life who, they stepped in after 2017, to be very honest with you. They stepped in after 2017, and they're my best friends today, and like, I'm so grateful for them. So that natural alignment brings ease is something that I want to tell. That natural alignment in personal relationships, that natural acceptance, it brings so much of ease, and it happens effortlessly. The minute you feel that you have to try to get someone's acceptance, or there's a part of you that needs to shift in order to get their acceptance, the minute you are in that thought process, yeah, that's a big sign to walk away, because that is a massive misalignment at that point in time. Perhaps maybe you naturally evolve. Maybe there is a transformation that happens to you over time, and then maybe in the future you naturally align. Maybe they also go through a process of transformation and both of you naturally align. So maybe that could happen in the future. You never know. But at this point in time, you have to recognize that letting go is the only option. You know, rejection in personal relationships, it's a very finite point, at least if you want to protect your mental and emotional health, and to an extent your physical health as well. All right, so one thing that I've written over here is you can't earn love, friendship, and respect. It has to be mutual. That is when it becomes effortless. Yes, there is hard work to be put in all kinds of relationships, absolutely, but the effort feels effortless. That's when you know it is alignment. Whereas in business, you know, rejection is more about, all right, if it didn't go once, try again, tweak it, try again, figure it out, work on it, make those adjustments. But at some point also, you have to recognize that that could also be a dead end as well. It's important to differentiate. With respect to personal relationships, it's oftentimes when we get rejected, we take it personally. We feel like it's affecting our self-worth, or it has something to do with our self-worth. We weren't enough. And I feel like putting that in quotes as well. But it's got nothing to do with that. The moment you shift into the thought process that, okay, well, I'm just not what this person wants. They want something different. And they get to be with the person that they want to be with, someone who naturally aligns. If they want different for themselves, that's completely okay. They get to ask for that. They deserve to get that for themselves. Whereas I, on the other hand, will find people who want me just as much as I want them, who align with me just as much as I align them. I get to ask for that as well. I deserve that as well for myself. So I feel like shifting into this thought process has allowed me to let go. And trust me, I have let go. Like, even talking about it is very emotional for me, because there has been significant pain in letting go, but understanding that they want something different and I can't be different for them, and I deserve to be with people who want what I can naturally offer, or who accept who I am for me. Yeah, that has been a game changer, but it has also been very painful. There's been a lot of letting go that has happened, especially in the past 5 years for me with respect to personal relationships. But that has also actually pushed me closer to finding people I naturally align with. And I guess a part of me will always love and cherish the people who at one point, did accept parts of me, though rejected other parts of me. But that's not the person that I am anymore, and I respect that. So I'm wanting something different for myself. So I can't hold it against them for wanting different for themselves at that point in time, or even to this day. All right. So another thing that I've written over here, and I'm going to wrap this up pretty soon, is you have actually no control over the feelings of another person with respect to personal relationships, right? And as much as we want to tweak or fix ourselves, that's actually, in a way, trying to control how they feel about us, which never works out. It's always going to lead to messy battles, because just trying to control the other person, even though you're saying I'm fixing myself, or I'm changing parts of myself for you, yeah, that's actually controlling the other person, and they're never going to like it. You're never going to like it. It's just misalignment from the beginning. Whereas with respect to business, there you have control over some aspects. I wouldn't say all. I will say that some aspects you do have control, and working on that and seeing how it can shift or change is one way of handling that rejection. Just using it as a data point now. Okay, fine, this didn't work, then this could work. If I tried this, then maybe this could work, so on and so forth. And then of course, I want to say this because sometimes in business, there are dead ends, and you have to recognize that as well. And I'll get into that in another podcast, because I feel like that also is very, very important to talk about. So I'll get into that in another podcast. But sometimes in business, or oftentimes, I guess I would say in business, a no today could be a yes tomorrow with certain tweaking. Whereas in personal relationships, rejection is no, that's it. It's pretty much that, and I guess this is a little bit more on the spiritual side. With respect to personal relationships, I always say, well, if you are meant to naturally align, perhaps you go through a transformation and they go through a transformation, it will naturally align at some point in the future. But for that, there needs to be whole and complete, and just this pure acceptance and love towards yourself, recognizing your self-worth, recognizing what you deserve, and just showing that energy to yourself first, so that you naturally attract and align with people who feel that way about you. It first starts with yourself with respect to personal relationships. That's something that I want to say, and that has been my very, very deep understanding about it. With respect to rejection in personal relationships, finite point. With respect to rejection in business areas, I guess I would say it's just data points. It's just feedback. All right. That brings me to the end of this podcast episode. I really, really hope that it helped you in some way. I hope that me sharing my experiences helps you kind of, first off, understand that you're not alone in this. I think that rejection is very, very normal. Whether it is in your business, it is in your personal relationships. I don't think that rejection ever ends. I don't think that we ever reach an age or a particular stage in our business where we say, oh, well, no more rejections from now. No, I think that it happens. But how we handle it, our perception of it, can actually help us find peace in that rejection. And of course, like I mentioned, it's two different ways, because the context of that rejection is also very, very important to take into consideration. All right. So I hope that my story and my thoughts give you a good starting point to start looking at how you have perceived rejection in the past. Maybe it gives you a starting point to maybe change your mindset if you've been kind of struggling with handling rejection, maybe in your business or personal, or both areas as well. I hope that this could help you understand that maybe the reason why you could be struggling is maybe you're applying the same lessons to the other area, and there's a clash because it's just different. It's different circumstances, and it's not even different circumstances, it's just different context. All right. So I hope that this can also help you create new ways in terms of your mindset and how you approach the situation that work for you specifically, you know? I always say this, the tips and advice that you get online should always be a starting point for you to figure out what works specifically for you. And this is something that has worked specifically for my situation, given the experiences that I've been through. This is my takeaway at this point in time, all right? So thank you so much for listening all the way up until here. And yeah, I'll catch you in my next one. Bye-bye.